Hey Raw Travelers, this is a very important video. This video is about how to find a great fare, and it's going to be using what they call a hidden city well, it's in the airline industry they call it the hidden cities because occasionally, not just occasionally, quite often, there are flights that you need to go on. For example, there's a fare war at a particular city. Let's say this is in the United States. Let's say there's a big fare war on a city like Denver, Colorado. And you don't live in Denver, Colorado. You don't even want to go to Denver, Colorado. But you want to go, let's say you live in Los Angeles, and you want to go to New York or Chicago or something, but there's a fare war to a city like in Denver. So what happens is a lot of the airlines will cut their fares to Denver, and they don't actually have flights that go directly from the city you live in to Denver. They fly from the city you live in to their hub, or one of their hubs, and then from their hub they'll fly to Denver. So that the fare from that one-way fare from your city to Denver might be something like $100, but you don't want to go to Denver, you want to go to the hub city. So let's say the hub city is Chicago, and you want to go to Chicago, but you live in Los Angeles, and you look at the flights from Los Angeles to Chicago, and they are something like $300 or $350 one way. But if you go to Denver on that same flight, which means from your city, Los Angeles, through to Chicago, and then to Denver, it's only a little over $100. So that's what we're talking about. That's what they call a hidden city. So I'm going to show you how to find those kind of fares, because there is a website called Skiplagged, and they're being sued by United Airlines and Orbitz, and I believe they no longer provide the hidden city list, but you can do it yourself. Right now, this is the best way to do it, and I'm going to put a link to the site that I'm on right now in the description of this video. This is the Google search engine for airfares. And if you want to search, this is primarily for people who live in North America, Canada, and the United States, and probably even Mexico, because fares outside of those areas, I mean, the way I'm showing you this here today is it's only going to work in North America. It's not going to work in Europe, although you can do the same thing yourself if you live in Europe or Australia or Asia or Africa or whatever. You could do the same thing yourself, but you'd have to create the list yourself. Where here I'm going to actually give you a list of cities that you're going to need to include. So let's get started. So this is what you do. Let's say you want, I'm giving the example here. I'm going to start with Los Angeles. Los Angeles Airport is LAX. You do need to know the code for the airport, so you put in LAX. And what I like to do is I click the nearby button right here, and then it gives you an option within 50 miles, 25, 75, 100 miles. For me, I don't want to really drive more than 50 miles, so I click on the 50 miles, I click select all, I click on the X, and it gives me a list of all the airports that are within 50 miles. So that's how you start. And then you click on this button here. It says advanced routing codes. You click on that, and then it opens up another box between the departure from or departing from and the destination. And then in the middle box you put the destination. So for my example, I wanted to go, let's say, to Chicago, and I happen to know the code for Chicago's ORD, O'Hare Airport. So you put in the ORD in the middle, and then in the end, well, I'm going to go get the list, so I'm going to be back in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to put in the list of all the cities, which I will also put in the description of this video, and there's the list. Okay, so this is what you're going to need to do. You copy this list, which will be in the description of this video, and then you paste it into the destination box. So I'm starting in Los Angeles. These are other airports within 50 miles out of Los Angeles. My destination is ORD, which is Chicago. This list is going to be in the description of this video. And then you can click on exact dates, or you can click on see calendar of lowest fares. I'm going to use the calendar of lowest fares because that's going to give me more flexibility. And I'm going to click on this. And let's say I wanted to go in April. Right now it's March. I'm going to try April. Let's start on April 1st. Okay, and then you select one adult if it's one person or whatever that is, and cabin, it's cheapest available. Leave that as that. Leave that like that in the default, and stops no limit, that's the default. Leave that. Extra stops up to 1 extra stop, leave that. Leave everything else as it is and just click on search. While you're waiting, you're going to see there's a huge list of cities that were included, and it's checking for flights and fares. So what I also like to do is I like to open up a second browser like this, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, I've opened up a second browser with the same website as I had on the first. So now here you can see is a calendar for the month of April, and it lists all the fares, and these are all going to be from the cities I selected, which is Los Angeles and all these airports that are within 50 miles of Los Angeles to Chicago. So as you can see, there's a big range. Saturday the 1st is $460, goes down to $296. And the highlighted ones, the ones that are in this more of a brownish color, are the lowest for the month. So as you can see, there's a big range. It starts at high as 460 down to 119. So that's a substantial difference. And if you want to look at the fare and the date, just click on the 119. Takes a little while till it finds the flight. And there it is. So it's American Airlines leaving out of Los Angeles, going to Pittsburgh, but it stops in Chicago. So one thing you gotta keep in mind about flights like this, if you're planning on buying a round trip ticket, you better not, because unless you don't care about it, unless you don't care about having it canceled, because once you get off the flight at Chicago, and you don't proceed on to Pittsburgh in this case, the rest of your itinerary gets canceled automatically. And the other thing you got to remember is that you cannot check any bags, because your bags will be off to Pittsburgh and not to Chicago. So those are the two requirements that you have to keep in mind. It has to be a one-way, and you cannot check any bags. But in this case, it's $119 with American and United, and another one with United. And these are the departure times, the arrival times, the duration. You have 3 choices at that same fare. So that's a good way to find out. And what I always do before I would, if I were going to actually get a flight like this, I would go to make sure this is actually the best deal out there. So I would go back to that website again on another tab, and I would type in my origination city, which is Los Angeles, click nearby again. I would go to 50 miles, select all, and then I would put in, instead of opening up the advanced routing codes, I would just leave the 2 boxes, type in my destination, which in this case is Chicago O'Hare, and then I would click on the calendar of lowest fares again and go back to April, and then click on the 1st of April, leave everything else as the default, and then search again. So this way I have confidence that the fare that I'm choosing is actually the best fare. There isn't some kind of lower fare that's snuck in, or I just want to compare what it would have actually cost me. So here you go. So in this case, there's actually a fare as low as $63 on the 26th of April. And here's the results. Let me just go back. Here was the results I had with the Hidden City test, Hidden City search. In Hidden City search, I came out with $119 was my best fare, and without the Hidden City search, I actually have a better fare of $63. So in this case, the Hidden City search didn't help me at all, but that's why I always do 2 tabs. So in this case, I would have clicked on the $63 fare. And once it comes up, we'll see the itinerary. The itinerary is with Spirit Airlines, which if you're interested in Spirit, I have a video about Spirit and Frontier. They actually match their prices. They're a 4-hour flight, and it's direct. It looks like it's a non-stop from LAX to Chicago, and $63. So if I were going on this flight, I would probably select either Spirit or Frontier. You have 2 choices, 5:30 p.m. or 11:55 p.m. And then there's another one, there's Virgin for just a few dollars more, and you can look down the list. So that's a way to find a really low fare using the Google's Matrix airfare search. And I hope to see you soon on another flight.